بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Continuing in our reading and explanation of the Manzuma, the poem منظومة الآداب الشرعية الصغرى, the minor poem on the legislative etiquette. We stopped last week on line number 83, so inshallah we'll go from there, which is the 8th chapter. The author Ibn Abdul-Qawwi rahimahullah, he says, Al-Adab ma'al hayawan, the etiquette with animals. And here, the author is going to teach us what are some of the rules and regulations regarding the animals and animal life and wildlife. But he doesn't go into the details that we are expecting from the name of the chapter. He more focuses on which animals it is permitted to kill and which it is not, and in which circumstances. This is the mawdu'a. Because when you read the chapter title, you think he's going to talk about everything regarding hayawanat, but it's too big. Bigger books have been written in Islamic literature, in the Maktabat al-Islamiyya, where you have a subject or the books just on the subject of animals. So it's important to know there are books like that. But this one is just some of the adab. And this is the minor poem. The bigger poem, he has more. قال المؤلف رحمه الله ويحسن في الإحرام والحل قتل ما يضر بلا نفع كالنمر ومرثدي. He says in line 84, I believe it's in the group, the brothers can see the translation. It is permitted, whether in a sacred place or not, to kill what harms and has no benefit, like the tiger and the lion. So here the author, he begins with the animals in which is permissible for the Muslim to kill, or the Muslim government to kill, due to the harm. Now what's important here, he uses the word here, fil ihrami wal hilli. There's a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told us about certain animals, it is permissible to kill them fil hilli wal haram. But what does hilli wal haram mean here? So there's two meanings. One, when in a state of ihram and when outside of it. When you're a muhrim, you put on your state of ihram for hajj or umrah. If you're in a state of ihram, you can kill these animals, and if you're outside of it, you can kill them. That's one meaning. Second meaning, fil hilli wal haram means when you haram, the sacred space. Haram Madani, haram Makki. So not just the state of being, but the actual place, the makan. Because we know if you go to Mecca and the haram of Medina, there's rules. Or you can't, which trees you can cut, which animals you can kill, which you can't, etc. Then he starts by saying that the animals which you can kill are those which have no benefit but have harm. مَا يَضُرُّ بِلَا نَفْعٍ. That which is harmful and has no benefit. And he gives two examples like the lion and the tiger. Alright, some of us will say, well, how come the lion and tiger don't have benefit? Benefiting towards that which the Muslim is allowed to benefit from the hayawanat. We can't eat the lion, as we took in the food and drink classes. And are we allowed to wear the skin? Can we wear lion skin? Leopard skin for the real one? It's sibah, right? It's a wild animal. Some hadith prohibit the wild wearing of the leather or the skin of the animal which is wild, a predator. It's a khilaf in terms of what about after you tan it? What about if you deal with it nicely? But you get the point. We don't benefit generally from it, from wearing its skin, nor eating it. إِذَنْ بِلَا نَفْعَ. There's no benefit for Muslims. In that angle, this is what they mean, nafa'. Otherwise, someone could say, how about if I tame the lion to hunt? اختلفت العلماء. It's khilaf there. Can you actually do that? Anyways, we're not going to go there. But line number 84 and 86, the point of the reference, killing animals which have no benefit but have harm. Hadith Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال خمس من الدواب كلهن فاسق يقتلنهن في الحرم الغراب والحدة والعقرب والفأرة والكلب العقور. 5 animals it is permissible to kill whether someone is in the haram, the sanctuary, or not. Number 1, the crow. The crow, and the author is going to get to the crow. Number 2, wal-hidatu. Hida is a kite. It's a type of bird. It looks like a sparrow, but its head is a little bit bigger. It's called a kite. You can Google it, kite. K-I-T-E. That's number 2. Number 3, al-aqrab, the scorpion. Number 4, the mouse. And number 5, al-kalb al-uqur. Wal-kalb al-aqur, afwan, aqur, bil-fatha. Wal-kalb al-aqur, it's translated as rabid dog, or rabid dog. But if you actually look at the tafsir of the ulama, we'll see it actually extends beyond that. It's not just a dog that has rabies, but any kind of animal, عَقَرَهُ النَّاسِ يعني عَقَرُوا النَّاسِ. People, they slaughter it. I.e. animals which are, as we'll see, dangerous to us because they're predators or they have a lot of poison or something like this. So before we move, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned 5 animals for Bukhari Muslim. You kill them in the haram or outside of it. In the haram or outside of it. And this is important to know, the hayawanat are categorized into categories. One group of animals, we have to kill them, based on the hadith. Group of animals, we're not allowed to kill them. Group of animals, we have no ruling either way. So this is important. As a Muslim, we should know this. Because, for example, if one of these animals are found in your house, what do? What does the Sharia say you do? Before we get there, what's the asl? Before we talk about the killing, what's the asl? What's the origin? It's haram in Islam to kill an animal without a maslahah, without a benefit. Haram. Which means if there's no benefit the Sharia gave, or there's no harm you're trying to deter or deflect, you can't just kill animal for sport. In one hadith, Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah authenticated, he mentions from the major sins in the sight of Allah is to kill an animal without a reason. Very important. As Muslims, this is a part of our deen. Just to kill it for sport, you know what they call a safari, right? The non-Muslim, this is haram, Islam. It's just sport of killing the animals and just hanging them for no benefit. Fil hadith also, Shaykh Al-Albani authenticated, Yawm al-Qiyamah, a sparrow will come and complain to Allah, ask him, why did he kill me? He didn't benefit from my meat nor my feathers. Imagine, hayawanat complaining because you killed it for no reason. Abathan, for no reason. And from this we learn this great lesson. Islamic, when it comes to welfare, animal welfare, Islam has rules and regulations, but the asl is that we benefit from hayawanat. When you're not benefiting or deflecting harm, then there's no reason for killing. In this case, he mentioned 2 animals, the lion and the tiger. And the reason why is because they fall into the kalbul aqur. Kalbul aqur is not just rabid dogs or dogs with rabies, it's actually any animal which is dangerous. Ibn Hajar mentions Fath al-Bari that the meaning of kalbul aqur al-asad. Why? Because there's a narration from the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He made dua against one of the Quraysh saying, Allahumma sallat alayhi kalban min kilabik. Oh Allah, send upon him a dog from your dogs. Now Arab, when they say kalb, it doesn't always mean dog. It means beast. And in that hadith, what happened was this particular Qurashi man, who was an enemy, he was traveling and doing business in Sham, and out of nowhere, a lion came and killed him. Because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made dua against him. We know dua of the prophets are mustajab. This hadith sahih. Right? So it's very important, hadith hasan. What we take from this, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called the lion kalb. So some of the ulama and salaf said, no, it's not just a lion, it's not just a dog, it's any animal. People generally kill it because it's dangerous. Ibn Hajar says method, example, مثل الأسد والنمر والفهد والذئب. The lion, the tiger, the leopard, the wolf. So this is the meaning of kalbul aqur. And it's not far-fetched. If someone said that right now there's a lion on the loose, I don't think it's anybody who's going to have a doubt, but we'll have to kill it if we find it. Right? We're not going to try to do anything else. Even the government, right? They have rules. And we'll get to that. So Islam says this. What about if it's no benefit in killing it, and there's no harm? I.e., the lion is not in our vicinity, it's not harming us. Then here there's a bit of difference of opinion, and the correct view is that we don't have to kill it. There's no harm in it. It's away from us, leave it alone. And this extends to all of them we mentioned now. The crow, the kite, the scorpion, the mouse, and the kalbul aqur. All of those animals, you kill them. Why? Because there's harm in them, and the harm is much. Now the ulama, they go step by step. Why each of these animals is designated to be killed? What is the hikmah behind it? What's the wisdom? And the reason why we're saying this, we said in the beginning, we're not allowed to kill animals without reason. So someone would say, well, okay, what about each one? For kalb al-aqur, we can understand. Lion, tiger, if you don't kill it, it's going to kill you. Right? Or harm someone. So the danger is much. So the ulama and most of the governments, they understand there's laws. If we cannot sedate it, we cannot tranquilize it, we can't get it out, we have to kill it. That one is not hard to understand. But what about the crow? Let's get to the crow for a second. There's two types of crows, and we're going to have to read the next line to get the meaning from the author. So we'll read the second line and we'll get the understanding. It says, وَالْغِرْبَانِ غَيْرِ الزَّرْعِ أَيْضًا وَشِبْهِهَا كَذَا حَشَرَاتُ الْأَرْضِ دُونَ تَقَيُّدِ. So line 85, he says, it's also permitted to kill the crow other than a crow called al-ghurab al-zara. In English, they call it the chow or the chuff. Maybe I pronounced it wrong, but this is what it is. It's a special crow with a red beak. Again, many of us might not know. I didn't even know what it was, so I have to Google it. But this is what it's called, a special type of crow. But the crow, when we say crow, without distinguishing, mean the black one, totally black. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned this one, we can kill it. He called all of them fasiq, wicked. So the author, why did he exempt this second type? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen in Sharh Sahih Muslim, he says, because this one is a smaller one and it's typically eaten by people. People eat it. And that's why the ulama said that one you can't kill it. That's not the crow in mention. The crow we're talking about, the one that you might see outside of your house or hanging on the telephone wires or usually bothering other animals. It's a pest. It's a nuisance. Even by law, it falls into the category of animals of nuisance. There's a law regarding this, and the farmers, they know about it. So Islamically, that's the reason why the ulama allowed it, because the harm is there. For example, it'll steal your food. For farmers, it ruins all the crop. A lot of it. And even some ulama, they mentioned that it's seen harming other animals. You know, the crow is one of the most intelligent animals out there. One of the most intelligent. And if you have time, you can research online. You can see a crow even walking the street, walking the sidewalk and the crosswalk. It's so intelligent. But it's dangerous, right? In terms of if you have a farmer, or if you have a house and you have food, or you have other animals. So due to that, the Sharia says you're allowed to kill it. The other one, we can't, because it doesn't have that harm. The smaller one, we said that the people eat. As for the kite, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen says the reason why the hadith says to kill it is because it steals people's food or meat. And it has other harm like this, so it's kind of like the crow. Right? And he mentions some of the explanation there. So again, there's a wisdom behind it. It's not just arbitrary. Some will say, why are these animals targeted? Because they have harm. We're going to get to the qa'idah. There's a dhabit. It's not just picking animals in this one and this one. Each one of them has particular harm. The next one in the hadith we mentioned is the aqrab. We already know the scorpion is poisonous. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam cursed it. One hadith Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was praying salah, and the scorpion bit him in the salah. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did ruqya shar'iyya. As we know, one of the reasons you do ruqya for someone is when they get a scorpion or poisonous bite. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam cursed the aqrab, the scorpion. He said it doesn't leave anyone who's walking and traveling, or even one who's praying. And we know the hadith uqatul aswadain fi salah, kill the two black ones in salah, al-aqrab wal-hayyat, right? The snake and the scorpion, hatta fi salah, you're allowed to kill it. While praying, you have to, if you're able to. Because the harm is much, right? The scorpion can kill with the poison. As for the mouse, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one hadith, he mentioned calling it the fasiq, and he said because it can burn down your house. You know, one hadith, one group of Sahaba and Medina and Ansar, the house burned down. Another hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned why, because at that time they had candles in the homes, that they'll come and knock down the candle and put the house on fire. And we know mice are known to chew through wire, right, and other things like this, and it's a pest again. So I don't think anyone doubts when you have a mouse in your house, you get the mouse trap. But the Sharia actually adds something on top of this, which we'll get to later. How do you kill the mouse though? How do you do it is the question. Not about you have to kill it, because the hadith is clear. So now we see in our society, we normally kill the field mice or the house in the house. Nobody doubts it. But the Sharia says why? Because the harm. It's a pest. It could also carry disease. So if it touches your food, for example, it can contaminate the food. Then all of these animals, the harm is proven. So what's the dhabit then? What's the rule? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, fi Sharh Sahih Muslim, tape 3, side A, he says, the ulama, the scholars, they say, the rule, any animal which is harm is either innate or the harm is present, not innately, but it's actually doing something harmful. Any animal whose harm is innate, it means it's tabi'i, it's already harmful, like a lion, innately harmful. Or an animal which is not innately harmful, but it's causing harm. Maybe it's trampling over something. Or it's on the loose, like a cow. A cow goes on the loose, it's running, it's going to harm someone. In this case, the Sharia permits the killing of it. Why? From the chapter, دفع الصائل. From the chapter of deflecting the assailant. For Usul al-Fiqh, we mentioned before, there's a chapter in the Qawaid al-Fiqhiyya, there's a chapter called دفع الصائل. When an assailant, a robber comes to your house, how do you deflect that? From that chapter, this animal's coming, animal comes charging. It's not a harmful animal, but it's charging at me, I have to kill it, I have to kill it. That's the animal which is not normally harmful, but it's becoming harmful. For example, a cow or a goat or a horse became excited, it's running towards its children. If I can only kill it I want to get rid of it by killing it, then I have to. Otherwise, I have to do something else. But the animals which are naturally harmful, wolf, tiger, lion, etc., then the Sharia says you can kill it. That's the dhabit. The Shaykh mentions, and he says this is the angle. But if there's no harm in there, then you can kill it. So for example, the horse is not doing anything wrong, or a donkey or a cow, you can't just go kill it. There's no harm. As for the other ones which are innately, then there always is a harm if present. I.e., for example, some ulama say, what if I just find it away, far away? Should I go and get it, or should I wait for it to come to us? So obviously the idea is, what if it's coming to harm us, or we find it where we are, then there's a harm. Otherwise, we should leave it alone. So it's important to understand this, because Daf'u Sa'il is a chapter from fiqh and also in Qawaid, because the Sharia tells you that these things you're allowed to deflect, but how you do it, we'll get to in a minute. Wadih, inshallah. So now I want to mention something. Under our law here in Canada, we are allowed to kill such wildlife, right, under the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act, where they say, especially for farmers, but it says these provisions apply to all property owners, not just farmers. Means, under Section 31, anyone who believes that wildlife is damaging or is about to damage their property may on their own land harass or kill the offending wildlife. It's important to know that you're allowed to in this law as well. So the Sharia is not far from these points. Because some people may think that sounds weird, right? Animal rights, how are you doing this? There's nowhere in the world where they believe in human rights, animal rights, or any other rights, except they also understand this. It's important. Some people, sometimes they try to accuse Islam of something which they don't accuse any other religion or any other system, because their minds are not clear. And it's a side point for all of us as Muslims. There's no one who can call Islam as a religion that doesn't accommodate human rights or animal rights, because that person, if they claim that, and Islam doesn't have animal rights, they don't understand the history of animal rights. Western Enlightenment theorists, they got animal rights from Hinduism and Islam. And you can read John Locke, he actually mentions that, Islam, in the footnote. The only footnote he has, he mentions Muslims, Mohammedans, as they used to call it back in the day. And I'm saying this because today there's some people, they think Islam is something barbaric or something like this. They don't understand the dunya wala deen, a lot of them. Jahil fi deen wa dunya. We have to be clear, guys. Some people, ignorant of Islam, ignorant of the West. I'm saying this clearly because unfortunately, some of the criticisms they try to throw against Islam, you wonder, did they study anything before even, let alone did they study Islam? So alhamdulillah, even this law, they understand that, because Islam is the one that teaches us that the maslahah is where you go. In this case, animal rights does not contradict killing animals which are harmful for Sharia. Now, the author continues by mentioning the next group, which is the hasharat, insects. And this one, a lot of Muslims, they don't know. There's actually some bit of differing on the issue of insects. Can you kill insects with rules? No rules. He says, كَذَا حَشَرَاتِ الْأَرْضِ دُونَ تَقَيُّدِ. The Hanbali view here, you can kill the hasharat دُونَ تَقَيُّدِ. He says, without mentioning any restriction. You're allowed to kill them, period. And obviously it doesn't mean that way, because even the Hanbali madhab, they have their view, they have conditions. But what's the ruling on killing insects? For example, if I have a spider in my house, can I kill it? Right, many of us, we heard you're not allowed to kill a spider. Is that true? Right, what's the story? What are we told when we were growing up? Ikhwani? Came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, made the, mashallah, he made the web. It's true, there's a hadith. Like in the hadith, حسنه بعض العلماء وضعفه بعض. So you have to know, it's not authentic hadith. right? Or they mentioned the hammam, the dove, it came and made a nest. So hadith is da'if according to some of our scholars. Some ulama authenticated it, but that's not the reason, right? So that's not a dalil, right? The proof is, as we'll see here, the ulama permitted the killing of the hasharat, and they divided it into 3 categories. All right, so we have to know this, because now if you go home and a spider making web on your books, you're going to leave the spider to make the web on your books. All right, it's important. Right? Shaykh Uthaymin mentioned that example specifically as one harm. The ilm, right? The ilm is important. So number one, we should know, the ulama, they differed. So Shaykh Uthaymin, one of his fatwa, he nicely summarized it, and we'll take the summary. He says insects are 3 categories. First category, that which you have to kill. Al-amr al-shara' bi-qatlih. The Sharia says you have to kill it. And the example we just gave was a scorpion. The hadith we just read, right? So some you have to kill. The Sharia says kill it because it's dangerous. So there's no negotiation. Second category, ma naha an qatlihi. The Sharia prohibited you from killing it. In this case, you're not allowed to kill it, whether it be in the haram or in the outside the state of haram. Example of some of those animals is the ant, or the insect specifically, the ant, the bee, the hudhud, right, the hoopoo bird, I think they call it in English, sard, right, sard, I don't know what the translation top of my head, but the sard is kind of like, right, we have to double check the translation, but sard is almost, it's a bird, again, has a larger than usual head, but the name in English I don't remember. So those are some examples you're not allowed to kill. And there's a hadith, Abi Dawood and others, and the Rasul mentioned them by name. Now somebody will say, what if the ant is causing harm in my house? I have an infestation. We're going to get to that later. There's exceptions to the rule. Thirdly, that which the Sharia has not told us anything. مَا سَكَتَ شَرْعًا. Sharia has been silent about it. Example, the cockroach. In this case, Shaykh Uthaymin says, rahimahullah, some of the ulama says you are haram to kill it. Some ulama says makruh. Some says mubah. لكن تركه أولى. But leaving it off is better. وهذا قول الثالث الأخير هو الصواب. Shaykh said this is the correct opinion. That it's mubah. It's permissible to kill any animal, insect specifically. Not in the first category, and not in the second. Means we don't have any haram or halal here. But it's better not to. It's better not to, but it's permissible. And this opinion is what the Shaykh concludes himself. And so from there we see a benefit that if we see a harm coming from this insect, then we should get rid of it. If not, then you can just take it outside your house, throw it out. Or if you find no problem with it, you want it to be there, then that's your business. Right? No one can prohibit you from it. But the idea is that we should know this ruling. Because like I said, in many of our communities we think, if you kill it, it's going to come Yawm al-Qiyamah and punish you and this, and we hear these kind of things. And this is not a good way to teach people. If something is not thabit, shara', we should not scare them. Right? We have other hadith about other animals harming you. And there's some discussion, what if I harm the animal, tortured it? Yes, the Sharia does say you will be punished in Jahannam, if Allah so wills, by that animal. Like the woman who tortured the cat. But when we tell our children why we shouldn't kill something, we just tell them that we have to tell them the right things, right? Because later on, they will learn it's wrong, and they'll wonder why were you telling them lies. Right? So even as adults and parents, we shouldn't lie to our children, nor should we tell them that which is not true. We should stay within the Sharia boundaries. So Sharia permitted us to kill them on that angle. And again, the idea is that if there's no harm, then it's better not to. And this is the more correct view. If someone feels the harm, for example, then you can get rid of it. With that being said, the Shaykh, he mentions, rahimahullah, bidun taqayyudi, without mentioning specifics, because the hasharat, literally, it can refer to small animals in the earth, or it can refer to insects. But here, what seems to be more correct is insects, like the insects that we know. Then he mentions, line 86, some insects that we should get rid of. He says, كَبَقٍ وَبَرْغُوثٍ وَفَأْرٍ وَعَقْرَبٍ وَدَبْرٍ وَحَيَّاتِ وَشِبْهِ الْمُعَدَّدِ. He says here, and some examples of those animals are bedbugs, fleas, mice, scorpions, wasps, snakes, and any similar animal. So bedbugs, fleas, right? Usually on the animals, right? Dogs have fleas, for example. Mice, scorpions, we already covered those two. Wasps, Right? Difference between wasp and bee is there's a difference in Sharia. They're not the same. Right? The wasp and bee, there's no virtue of a wasp in the Sharia, is there? It's the bee. The snakes and the other similar animals. So you can see the ma'na, the meaning of hasharat extends to other things that are kind of vermin. Some people use the word vermin because this is maybe a better word to cover these animals. So we covered some of them, but let's start with the one that we don't know. Bed bugs. Right, again, it goes without saying, they're harmful to you, to your skin, to your house, to your property. And again, we naturally kill them. Sharia says allowed. Fleas, same thing, cause itching. Sharia permits. What about flies? Right, there's kind of similar to fleas. So if we don't have anything harm, do flies harm you? They could, right? You have too many of them. You have maybe one fly, maybe not. So if it falls into the third category we mentioned in the second, just a minute ago, animals which is no haram, no halal, it's up to you. If it harms you, you can go ahead. If not, then you have your choice. But then he mentions the wasp. So the wasp is different than the nahl, the bee. The nahla, the bee, is in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He honored that animal. And we also see in the hadith. So the difference between the two is that if the hukum, it's important to know, generally the sharia, it's a qa'idah, it combines between similar things and it separates between different things. Right? The sharia, it separates, makes similar or combines the ruling of two similar things. And it separates that which is not similar to it, is different, and puts it to other things which are like it. So for example, if we didn't know any better, the wasp and the bee are looking the same. But why is the hukum different? Because we have nas. Otherwise we could say they're kind of the same in size, but the sharia made different. The sharia honored the bee and it didn't honor the wasp. Why? Because the bee gives us honey. Fihi shifa'un linnas. It has benefit. That's the honor Allah gave it. Allah inspired it. But as for the wasp, we can't say that. Therefore, the ulama say it's permissible to kill the wasp. Hadith Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, it's athar, sahih, أنه أمر محرما, Umar commanded a person in state of ihram أن يقتل الزنبور, to kill the wasps, or wasp. He allowed them in the state of ihram to kill it. Because we know the wasp is the one you find in your porch, in your house, on the balcony that's giving you a hard time. It doesn't produce honey and usually it's trying to get your honey. Right? If I remember correctly, it's always coming for the sweets. So this one, you get rid of it. And he's going to mention the Shaykh how to get rid of it. Right? But the idea is like different. Some people they say, this is Allah honored the bee, not the wasp. And the bee, as you notice, is even respected in the wildlife. That's why as Muslims you stay away from the bee unless, of course, we said, what if the bee is harming you? It's coming trying to bite you. Can you defend yourself? Yes. If it's trying to sting you, you have to kill it. It's different. Because this is daf'a sa'il. You're pushing away the assailant. But if you went and started playing at the beehive, then your fault if it bites you, right? You shouldn't do that. So here, the hadith, Athar Umar is thabit. Some of the ulama use it as proof that the wasp is separate. Again, from the chapter of harming. Alright, so this is important because a lot of the laity, they don't know this. We have to tell them these things, especially at home. When these things happen and a certain unwanted guest, you should be the one who deals with it. You got to decide, is one's halal or not halal, because you have the knowledge now. Right? Because in most of our houses, either we have two extremes. One, we don't do anything, all kinds of animals, or we kill all of them. Right? And Sharia says you can, but you have to have rules. Right? When can I, how can I as well, as we're going to get to the end. How do you do it? Now, the next one, he mentions the snakes. Again, we mentioned the hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, kill the two black things in prayer. And he mentions the snake, but why? What's the problem with the snake? So one of the things the ulama, they mention, the snake is dangerous. And not all snakes, but some of them. Right? They're poisonous. Like there's a hadith, very interesting hadith, I'll mention here. في صحيح أبي داود حديث أبو هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم ما سلمناهن منذ حاربناهن ومن ترك شيئا منهن خيفة فليس منا. He said عليه الصلاة والسلام, we had never made peace with the snakes since they fought with us before. And whoever leaves them alone out of fear of them, he's not one of us. Allahu Akbar. See, Sharia is serious, telling the man, we see a snake, you gotta go for it. Imagine, minhunna khifatan. You're scared of it. Now, of course, someone will say, subhanAllah, that could be dangerous. So Sharia is not saying go for it and you know you're going to get killed. Right? Don't kill yourselves. But the idea is you should get rid of it out of your home. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam encouraging us that. And we know in some hadith, he told us there's some of them are jinn, so give them time to leave, and etc. But the idea is, what's the first part of the hadith? My focus is the first part. مَا سَلَّمْنَاهُنَّ مُنْدَ حَرَبْنَاهُنَّ. We were never been safe or had peace with them since they fought with us. Some of the ulama use this dalil as dalil that Iblis came to Adam and Hawa in the form of a snake. Many of us, we heard the story of Adam and Hawa. How did Shaitan make waswasa to Adam? The Christians say in the Bible he came as a snake. That's why I think in our culture we call people snakes, right? Ma'ruf, right? Someone's bad, you call him a snake. Now you know why. Many of us didn't know. It's a bad animal. لكن some ulama said this hadith dalil. Ibn Kathir في قصص الأنبياء, he uses this إشارات. He says this is إشارة. صاحب عون معبود عظيم بادي, he says the same. However, one of our mashayikh, Shaykh Abdul Musa al-Abadi, says this is not correct. Why? He says that even though this was indicated, because the hadith says that since they fought with us, when would they fight with us? Allahu A'lam. Right, so some said the harb was between Adam and Iblis. But Shaykh Abdul Musa al-Abadi says we don't know any dalil reported on this. وهذا أمور غيبية. It's an unseen affairs. لا يقال بها إلا إذا ثبتت. Remember the rule. You can't say something about the unseen without dalil. So the better view, we can't say it, like it's very interesting. That's actually a very interesting ijtihad from some of our ulama. And you can see it. Go to the story of Adam a.s. from Qasas al-Anbiya, Ibn Kathir, you'll see it. So some ulama say that's why we have to fight them, or we have to kill them. But truth be told, it's because of the poisonous nature. Right? They're dangerous. To kids, they're dangerous to all of us. Some of them very dangerous. Then, all the animals we see that we mentioned so far have been told. Sharia has told us to kill them because of the harm. It's a theme, and we mentioned the rule. Either they're innately harmful, or the harm is what they're doing. It's harming you through its action. The author then, he mentioned وَشِبْهِ مُعَدَّدِ. There's a number of others like it. Other animals were similar to it. And they mentioned some examples. Like there's one hadith, it mentions the porcupine. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam supposedly called it khabith. But then, truth be told, the hadith daif, right? So we can't say the hedgehog or the porcupine is a bad animal. Even though there's one hadith, Shaykh Al-Albani did authenticate that shaitan or a jinn came in the house of one sahabi in the form of a hedgehog or a porcupine. I don't know if they're supposed to add something more, but wallahu a'lam. But the idea is harmful, right? It's the spikes. But anything along the lines like that, you could say they're similar, you get rid of them. But the author then moves to the animals which we're not allowed to kill, but what do we do if they're harming us? Like the ants. And this is a common one in the houses and anywhere. Line 87, وَيُكْرَهُ قَتْلُ النَّمْلِ إِلَّا مَعَ الْأَذَى بِهِ وَكْرَهَنَّ بِالنَّارِ إِحْرَاقِ مُفْسِدِي. It is disliked to kill ants except when there's a harm due to them. It is disliked to burn them, right? Or to burn those who harm of the ants who's harming us. Then we mentioned before the hadith Rasulullah exempted from the animals he said you're not allowed to kill is the ant. In the Quran, Surah Namal, so the story of the ants. So the ant is also kind of special sacred animal. So what do we do then if we have the infestation in our houses? It's a lot of ants coming. How do we get rid of them? Can we get rid of them? The answer is yes. Because the Shaykh says, the author, it's disliked to kill them. And we said last week that the origin of dislike is always tanzih. Right? Karahi to shadida, it's disliked. But sometimes the dislike can become haram, like prohibited. Here he's saying it's disliked, but when they harm you, permissible. And this is the correct view. Hadith in Bukhari, we know there was a prophet from the prophets of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was sitting, a prophet from the prophets of Allah, who was sitting under a tree and was bit by an ant. So in retaliation, he burnt the entire anthill. And Allah criticized what he did, the action, by saying, why not just one of them? Not all of them. So the hadith from that part, why not one of them means you can kill it if it's harming you. That's a dalil. Not one of them means it's one that bit you can kill it. But not all of them. So if there's a lot of ants, you can get rid of them. But the tariqah, the way that you do it, is, as Shaykh Ibn Uthaymin says, the way you get rid of these animals which are harmful is bil-ashali fal-ashal, in the most easiest or convenient and harmless way, then the next progressive way after that, i.e. you start with the easiest way. Maybe you spray some vinegar or something like that. Doesn't work, okay, you get some chemicals. Doesn't work, you get some one of those special things that attracts them. All this, you move slowly. You don't just kill them in a very bad way, because they're animals. It's not allowed to torture. You see, this is a great fiqh. In Islam, even the animal you're supposed to kill, you have to kill it nicely. It's very important. This is something we combine to show that in Islam, the animal treatment, humanity is part of the deen. And the Shaykh mentioned also, Shaykh Uthaymin, in more than one fatwa, that how you kill it, he says in that method. And he says you take the most easiest path to killing it, because of the hadith, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ الْإِحْسَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah has written ihsan everything. فَإِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الْقِتْلَ وَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَ. Hadith 40, right? Whenever Allah has written and prescribed ihsan on all things. When you kill well. What does it mean? It means no harm. You have to do it without the least suffering and relief. Imagine. So how about the mouse then? Because some of us, we don't have mercy on the mouse, right? You kill it however you can. How do you do it in the Sharia? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymin, rahimahullah, Sharh Riyadh al-Salihin, he actually mentioned it's not allowed to use some mouse traps have glue. The animal gets stuck in there and it just suffocates and dies a slow and painful death. He says not allowed. It goes against the hadith. So you need one that kills it quickly. You get maybe some mouse traps are just supposed to do the job. Obviously, it doesn't always do it, but you get one that's going to do it quick. One hit, one kill. This is important. Sharia, imagine, we have the right reason for something we're supposed to kill. Imagine someone will turn around today and tell us, animal slaughter in Islam. Tell them, what Islam are you talking about? Islam that I know, we're not allowed to even kill the mouse badly. How can I kill the cow badly? You see, Ikhwan, we have to tell people when they talk about Islam, show them deen. They don't know. They don't know, many people. Tell them the deen. They don't understand. And they want to come and they want to raise a question. You have to show them, what Islam are you talking about? Because some people, unfortunately, they get their Islam from the news. So we have to tell them, if you want to learn about Islam, let me tell you. But this is beautiful explanation as well. And at home, we have to come with those strategies. Sharia is like this. Obviously, if that doesn't work, right, the easier way, you keep progressing until you do what you have to do. That leads to the next point, which is using fire. Can I burn them? And the Shaykh says, it's makruh, disliked. So question now, is it disliked or is it haram to use fire? So the hadith we know, Bukhari, Abu Dawud and others, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا يعذب بالنار إلا رب النار. No one's allowed to burn or use fire as a punishment except for the Lord of the fire, Allah. Because Allah will punish the humans and the jinn and the creation in Jahannam with fire. It's not allowed for us to use fire. Okay, it's hadith. Some of the ulama said it's permissible because Ali held that view. Hadith, Ali, he killed some people who apostated out of Islam, burning them. Not aware of this hadith. Ibn Abbas narrated the hadith and said this is what he did in terms of these people were disbelievers, but that action of burning is not allowed. But some held the view that this action was allowed because Ali made ijtihad. But the correct view is haram to use fire because the hadith, Rasulullah is very clear. Extended to that, how about electric meshes and those kind of plugins we use today? Some of them, they burn them, they zap the mosquito. Many of our contemporary ulama said those are a type of fire, haram. You can't use that either. Some ulama said it's also a type of fire. Some of them, they have you hang it, the mosquito comes, it burns, because the effect is the same. Even though it's electric, it burns, right? And it's not allowed. It's not humane. So it's better to use other things, either sprays or something else where it can get attracted to it or dies, whatever else. So this is a benefit, again, added to what we said. Islam comes with the humanity of animals. And also for us to be careful that we don't kill the animals in a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased with. Because another hadith about the ants as well, when the man burnt them, the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala criticized that action. That's another proof. He used the fire to burn the anthill. Added to this, the author then says in line 88, وَلَوْ قِيلَ بِالتَّحْرِيمِ ثُمَّ أُجِيزَ مَعَ أَذًا لَمْ يُزَلْ بِهِ إِلَّا بِهِ لَمْ أُبَعِّدِ. So he now rations And Ibn Abdul Qawwi, rahimahullah, says, it was said it's haram to burn ants using fire, but then it was permitted. When there is harm from the ants, and there was no other way of getting them rid of them except by that, this might not be far from the truth. So his view then is that the hadith prohibited it, then it became permitted when there's a harm due to the ants. This is his view. So that's ijtihad, you could argue. But the correct view then is still that it's not. We'll say that stronger as the hadith prohibits it. We can't argue this. Now, the author in line number 89, he says, وَقَدْ جَوَّزَ الْأَصْحَابُ تَشْمِيسَ قَزِّهِمْ وَتَدْخِينَ الدُّبُّورِ وَشَيًّا بِمَوْقِدِ. So here he says now, the companions of the madhab, ashab here means the Hanabila. Because Ibn Abdul Qaadir is a Hanbali. Alright, it's a Hanbali. And we should know, when different ulama, when they say ashabuna, our companions, it goes back to who? Ashab madhab. Mustalahat ulama. Those of us studying fiqh, we should know. If an author says ashabuna, our companions said, it doesn't mean companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ashabuna, it means the ashab, the imams of the madhab. So Imam Nawawi, when he says ashabuna, he means the Shafi'iyah. When the Hanabila say, it means the great imams, the muhaqqiqun of the madhab, the Hanbali madhab, etc. So it's a benefit to know the salah of the ulama, their technical terms. Because when you study fiqh and you don't know the terminology, you misunderstood the ruling. Right? And so that's something the ulama always emphasize. So he says, ashabu here means the aimma to Hanabila. They permitted sunning the silk moths. Silk moths are like the silkworm. It produces silk. So how do you produce silk? You take, when it leaves the carcass, you wash it or you put it under the sun, you dry it first, and then you wash it, you keep it, etc. So some of the ulama said it's permissible to use the sun to dry the carcass left behind by the silkworm to get the silk out of it. It's not ta'zeeb or anything or some kind of punishment because the sun heat is like burning. This is where they come in the qiyas. Burning is haram, but what about if you use the sun to dry something? They said there's no problem because you're getting silk. And usually if you study the process of silk, you're not actually burning the animal, you're taking that what you left of the carcass. It's usually cocoon, it comes out of that thing, etc. So the ulama, they made this clear because otherwise how are we going to get silk, right? So this is again maslaha. They're looking at the maslaha and they're looking at the hukm carefully. He also adds that it's permissible to smoke out wasps and to use fire to get rid of them. And if somebody has a wasp hive in their house, can they use fire to smoke them out as they use or smoke to get them out of there? Just like when you smoke to get the bees out of the beehive to get the honey. He says it's permissible, and some say even permissible to put it on fire, right? Because it's again an animal you kill. Based on the earlier view that it's permissible to use fire when needed. So the better position is we shouldn't put it on fire. Rather we should. Just if you want to use smoke, that's another technique. Or you call the professionals. Maybe that's the best way because you shouldn't be. If you don't want to get bit, so you shouldn't maybe do that. But he's saying, what's the hukm? The hukm he's talking about. Then, the author now, line number 90, which we'll finish with today, he moves into now the animals which you're not allowed to kill. So the organization here, he organized it by mentioning animals you're supposed to kill, animals that you are not supposed to kill, but if they harm you, what to do. And then the last one, animals which you are supposed to kill. Line 90, وَيُكْرَهْ لِلنَّهِي شَرْعِ عَنْ قَتْلِ دِفْدِعِ وَسِرْدَانِ طَيْرٍ شِبْهِ ذَيْنِ وَهُدْهُدِ. He says it is disliked, according to legislation, to kill frogs and to kill kites. Right, again, if sard, I don't know if it translates to kites, maybe it's something else. Right, we double checked. Sard. Right, so we'll correct it. Sard, I don't know the translation now. But it's not allowed, we said the hadith. Shrike, that's what it's called. Sard is a shrike. Barakallahu feek. Sard, yes, it's a shrike, that's what it's called. And the hudhud, the hoopoe bird. So these animals, you're not allowed to kill them fil hadith. And the nahi now, is it nahi tanzih or nahi tahreem? Last week what we said, there's 3 types of karahiyah. Anyone remembers? 3 types of dislike. Review, huh? What is that one called? The first category? Karahiyat khafif, or khilaf al-awla. Right? Hanabila especially use it, khilaf al-awla. Something which is not prohibited in the Sharia literally, nor commanded, but it goes against that which is recommended. An example, praying 2 rak'ah after Maghrib is good, recommended. If I don't pray, am I doing something makruh? No hadith says do not pray after, do not miss your 2 rak'ah. So it's khilaf al-awla, we call it. Second one we said was the karahiyah, what? Yes? Makruh shadid, right? So it says makruh shadid or karahiyah to tanzih. Right? Tanzihi means this is the one when you hear makruh means stay away. If you stay away, you get hasanat. If you do it, no sin. And last one we said is the karahiyya or the makruh tahrimi. Haram. It's called makruh, but it's haram. Here the ulama have khilaf. He's killing the frogs. Makruh. Tanzihi or tahrimi. So first of all, where's the hadith? Abu Dawud mentions the hadith. Sahih naha Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam qatl difta'. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited killing the frogs. One day a doctor came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, can we use it for medicine? He prohibited. And so as a side benefit, the doctors used to come to Rasul ﷺ and ask him rulings. Why? Because even the doctor needs to know the halal haram. The Sharia, there's tib al-nabawi, ilahi, Allah sends, and the tib that we know, dunyawi. So there's no contradiction. That's why the ulama and the atibbad hand in hand. Because the doctor can come with the ruling, but who says halal haram? You need to go to the ulama. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't, you're not allowed to kill it. Idan, naha here means prohibited. Which type? Ulama differed. 2 views. Number 1 is tanzih. It's just makruh, not haram. And they say it's makruh. Why? Because the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said naha means makruh tanzihi. That's the general start, right? You start from there. And therefore, if there's a need, you can kill it. Now before I go further, if the Prophet ﷺ prohibited an animal, commanded you not to kill an animal, are you allowed to eat that animal? We're studying food and drink. What's the rule? You can't. If an animal is haram to kill, it's haram to eat. Because you can't eat it except by killing it. And if you find a dead meat, haram more so. An animal which you have to kill, you can't eat. Why? Because it's probably not good to eat, right? It's poisonous or something, right? So this is a rule. So therefore, frogs are haram to eat, no matter which country eats it. France or otherwise. It's not allowed to eat frog legs and those kind of things. But some will say it's makruh, not haram. Tahrimi, we say. Qawl al-sahih, we're going to see it's tahrimi. It's not tanzih, it's tahrimi. But some ulama say it's tanzih. So maybe three of the madahib they say that, or at least some of the ulama from the Shafi'iyya, Hanabila, and some of the Hanafis say it's just makruh. Which means if there's a sabab to kill it, you can kill it. The second group say it's haram to kill it, because Nabi ﷺ said naha, and naha is tahrimi, for 2 reasons. Al-Khattabi says, rahimahullah, number 1 reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored this animal. Hurma kal hurmati bani Adam. Allah made it sanctified. Not like us, but the fact that we're sanctified too. You can't kill us as humans, we can't kill one another. This is one of those animals, it's special. That's one. Second meaning, it's prohibited for another reason. Allah knows best. Some of the ulama, they narrate a narration that the frog has been prohibited to be killed because the frog, it makes tasbih. Have you heard this before? Frogs make tasbih. When it's croaking, that noise it makes. Someone said that's a tasbih of the frog. It's a narration from Abdullah ibn Ma'as. Like in where is this, even though it's sahih maybe, that's taken not from, maybe it could come from the Jews or Christians. We have no hadith other than that, right? So some ulama said because it makes a lot of tasbih, it's always croaking. So therefore it's special. Right, but again, this is mentioned. The correct opinion, wallahu a'lam. If it's not sacred, I sanctify it, wallahu a'lam. The Prophet prohibited, that's it. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says qawl al-mukhtar. That's the correct opinion. And it looks like the hadith is prohibiting it for that reason. Therefore, if somebody wants to benefit from the frog, then it has to be a maslaha, a benefit. And so the Prophet ﷺ, some of the ulama, they say tahrimi also can be shown, because when the doctors asked to use it in medicine, he said no. Is in medicine a great benefit? They said no, because the harm is there. There's harm maybe in the frog, in maybe that particular one. But the ulama said now, if you take the view it's makruh, when can something makruh become halal? Right, we'll just add this benefit. It's nothing to do with this, but it's connected to usul. If something's makruh, when does it become halal? Necessity? Right? Less than that. Necessity is only for when something's haram. So the second category, if something's haram, becomes halal through necessity. We studied this before. Necessity makes permissible the haram. Something makruh by haja, by need. وَلَوْ أَدْنَى سَبَبْ, even the lowest need. You see the difference? Karahiyah, something's makruh. You don't need darura to make a halal, you just need a need. Haja is higher than a need. Necessity is like, okay, I need to kill this frog because it's coming into my house and it's dangerous. That's a necessity. A necessity would be, we need to kill this frog because we want to benefit from something from it. Which leads me to a question that many of us we know, can you dissect a frog? Some of you probably did in your science class. What's the hukum? Anyone wants to try to take a look at that? It's makruh or haram. Depends on what view you hold. Is the maslahah to dissect a frog in science class? What's the maslahah? To learn about something, right? Biology, something like this, right? You want to learn how it works. You want to maybe find out. So some ulama say, but that's a darura. See, Uthaymin says permissible just in case you're worried. It's no problem. Because you didn't kill it anyway, so it came to you dead. There's benefits, there's maslahah, science and benefit. Second, if it's just not a maslahah, like maybe you say science and darura, right? Then it's makruh. If it's makruh, adna sabab, it's okay. That's still a need. Then the ulama allowed that. So that's where the khilaf also came. Can you sell the frogs? It comes back to the same difference. واضح? Something's makruh, it becomes halal due to haja. If it's haram, illa bidarura. It's very important to know the difference because today we mixed the two. Some will come and say, brother, it's necessity. He means haja. Something's makruh, he says wajib, he doesn't know. So he's mixing the pot. A lot of us, when we go home, got to make sure we remind our parents and family and friends what they're talking about. Sometimes we're, something's in house, all those discussions, they're not principled. It's all over the place, right? So you just remind them, is that a makruh? Then you quickly realize they don't know what they're talking about, and then they're going to listen to you. But you also teach them so they don't listen to people who tell them wrong things. Like we said before, some people mix these principles together, and they come with, mashallah, something new. Fatwa, halal. And you're like, wow, how did he do that? And you take a look and say, oh, okay, look what he's doing. It's wrong. Then the shaykh says you can't kill it except for, we just said darura, and likewise the shriek or shrike and the hudhud. Why is the hudhud special? Some of the ulama, they write about this, right? Kitab al-Hayawan of Dumayri, he has a lot about these animals. And he talks about this animal. Why is the hoopoe bird so special? One, it's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. That's the story of Sulaymaan alayhi salam. And some ulama say that why was Sulaymaan alayhi salam looking for the hoopoe bird in the story? Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhuma, fi Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba, there's a narration sahih to him, because the hoopoe bird, this one especially, could find the water sources. Allah gave this hoopoe bird the ability to find the water sources, so he needed it to find the water holes to drink the water. Allahu Akbar, right? We can't say all hudhud birds do that, because they mainly live in Yemen, in that region. But that, at least we know that's sharaf it had. And that's why he was looking for it, and then he didn't come. Others say that another maslahah he had for it, or the fact that it was just missing. But the benefit, we say that whatever the reason is, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited killing that bird, even though we don't have it often around us, right? It's not in this region of the world. Then, inshallah, we'll end with this, right? But we won't mention benefit, since we mentioned the hudhud, might as well mention benefit. In the tafsir of Surah Naml, we know the hudhud told Sulaymaan, when Sulaymaan said, where did you go? Either bring me proper news or I'm going to punish you. He said that I have something which you don't have, of ilm. It's a fa'idah, ikhwani. When it comes to knowledge, sometimes some of us might know something more than us. Everyone can know something. A student knowledge can know something a shaykh doesn't know. Right? You can know something talib ilm doesn't know. Because when the hudhud said, I know something, ma lam tuhit bih, that you don't even know. And that's what the ulama mentioned in a nice parable. Yujad fi nahar ma la yujad fi bahar. You may find in the river, but you don't find the ocean. It's a benefit, right? You don't lower yourself. Sometimes you may learn the benefit. You say, some people say, why do I have to study? There's ulama alive. What if Allah opened the door for you to learn something that you could benefit everyone with? And sometimes some people, that's the problem. They might tell themselves, there's no need for me. I'm just a scheme guy, talib ilm, nobody. But in the end, first of all, we have high ambitions for ilm. Because the beginning of that page, Sulaymaan alayhi salam and Dawood, what did they praise Allah for? Alhamdulillahi alladhi faddalana ala kathirin min ibadihi mu'minin. They praise Allah for the knowledge. What is Dawood or Sulaymaan? Dawood taught Sulaymaan the knowledge he inherited, but they praised Allah. وَقَدْ آتِينَا دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ عِلْمًا. Ilm is the greatest thing. So you might tell yourself sometimes, I'm a nobody, I know nothing. If you learn with high ambition to benefit yourself and your family, perhaps you have fa'idah you come across, you teach all of us. All of us. And we want to benefit each one of us. So that's a great benefit. The ulama inspired the student of knowledge. That the hudhud, the bird, had something that Sulaymaan didn't have, and Sulaymaan did what? He listened to the bird. It's a benefit, right? Also to teach us humility. Barakallahu feekum, inshallah. If anyone has any questions, we'll take it, inshallah. Otherwise, we'll end. Yes.
Is there any specific reward in leaving off killing something if you can avoid killing it? For example, if you have the option of sedating, let's say a lion, versus killing it, is there any reward in sedating it?
So this is a good question. If we have the chance now, if we have lion, we want to sedate the lion, tranquilize it, or you kill it. No doubt, tranquilizing it in order to remove it may be a better option if it's safer. But also the idea is that the ulama, since they say it's permitted to kill it, then you can have a choice there, you can kill it. So we cannot necessarily say that sedating it is better reward-wise. But if it's better for maslahah, because for example, we know some of these animals are endangered. So for the maslahah of the government, it's not good for them to go on to kill it. Because it could maybe cause a fitna on the news. You're killing endangered animals or this and this. So there's a maslahah can be there. But the idea is that the ulama say, whatever Allah permitted you to kill, you're allowed to kill it, but the best way possible. Here in this side of the world, if they can't safely tranquilize the animal, because when you tranquilize it, it's still running wild. So it's possible it can trample other things while it's still before it falls. If they can't safely tranquilize it, then they will kill it. So again, that's left to the government. But there could be a maslahah there. But the idea is that if you have to get rid of it, you have to get rid of it. But the idea is the harm, that's the goal, because the goal is to remove the harm. So, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but that's something that the person involved has to decide. And the governments usually, again, goes back to the governments. The killing of this is not left to us. Now there's nizam. So, for example, if there's an animal on your, like a bear or a coyote, you call the government and they tell you, you have to inform them you're going to do certain things. You can't just go and, go and get it. It's not what Islam says, because it's dangerous, right, for everybody. Allahu a'lam, yes. So the one we mentioned, which is the, what do we call it? Strike. Right? The sard, this one says, you're not allowed to kill. So the kite and the strike are two different. So now we know the hidatu or hidatu, this one is the kite. Right? This one is the kite and the sard is the strike. Right, they sound the same. Hidatu, this one's the kite, Naam, yes. Good. If something is khilaf al-awla, first category of makruh, or the second, if there's no haja, right, to make it halal or haram, then you can still do it. You're right, there's no sin. But when something's makruh, it's better not to be done, because you get a reward for leaving it. So the issue then, if killing the frog was just makruh, shadid, right, tanzih, you're still allowed to do it, but the ulama also looking, should you do it? Well, that's the issue. But when we take the ruling haram, we need now a necessity, and then that's why we mentioned some of the examples. So you're right, but the idea is like, the ulama, the fuqaha, when they talk about ahkam, they're always looking for the ruling, to find what is the exact ruling is different than the choice that's up to that person. Of course, you want reward, you don't want less, right? But you're right. Right? Something is makruh of the first and second nature, it's not haram. Allahu a'lam. Any other questions? Yes.
Regarding the bee specifically, it's known that it doesn't necessarily go and attack people and try to sting them all the time. So if it comes in your house, but it's not in close proximity to you, what's the borderline of when you have to kill it or eating it off, getting it out in a different manner?
So that's the thing. If the bee comes into someone's house, because we know the bee is not aggressive by nature, unless you annoy it, you wouldn't rush to kill it. Right? There's no real harm present. Right? So the idea is the harm has to be present. It has to be, like we said, daf' al-sa'il means it's there. You're actually deflecting us, assailant. It's chasing you. It's coming after you. Otherwise, you just trap it and you take it outside. This is the best. And that's why we said even the animals, insects, which we're allowed to kill, don't forget, Shaykh says, the tarku awla. Right? So we don't go home now and start killing everything and say, it's halal, I learned in dust today, you can kill all of them. I'm not saying that. We're saying that if need be. Because some people, like we said, they're scared of the bugs, they have to kill them. And other people, they can live with them. So you're right, you just don't kill it, especially because you know this is an animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about in the Quran. It's always, you have to show honor. Yes. So animals which we're supposed to kill in the Sharia, can we keep them as pets? So here we see that the ulama, when they talk about killing the animal, they say if the Sharia says you have to kill it, there's no need for iqtina, no need for owning it. So some of the ulama, they went so far to say that the animal, if you're supposed to kill it, that means its nature is either harmful or its harm is greater than its good. So therefore when you're owning it, you're in fact owning something which is going to eventually harm you and others. And I'll get to the example now. For example, nowadays there's a trend, people are raising cheetahs. Right? Cheetahs and lions and leopards. This is, we know you're playing with fire, right? But the point is they're raising them. For Shara, it goes into kalb al-aqur. So some of the fuqaha, they mention that this animal, some people say we use it for our benefit, we'll go hunt with it. But they said, some of the ulama said this is wrong. Lions, they never hunt for yourself. It hunts for itself. It's king of the jungle, supposed to, right? I never heard of a lion who gives other people meat. So they said, can you even domesticate it? So the ulama said, there's no guarantee, because even if it got the meat, it could still kill you too. So it killed two of you. So they say in this case, no benefit, because if it's supposed to be killed, you can't have iqtina, no intifa'. And the same goes to other animals, right? Whether it be pigs or the likes. The Sharia said to get rid of it due to its harm. You owning it is exposing to harm. So the best answer is to avoid it, because the Sharia prohibited it for a reason. It's killing and ordered it. And so therefore when we try to pick pets for our children, we steer them away from those snakes and these things. It's better than that. You get, what is the fish, something like this, something harmless. And it's good to teach them. The reason why is harmful and dangerous. So many people, they got harmed by these animals, right? Later, and even if we can be honest, what if you have it and it escapes? Let's be honest now, you have a lion, snake, and goes to your neighbor's house, terrorizes them. Who's responsible for Sharia? You. And any damage it does is on you. I think we studied in the Qawaid al-Fiqhiyya, if I have a horse, and then it goes and runs away, and it goes and tramples your garden, who's paying? The horse? I'm paying. So sometimes you even wonder yourself, why I have monkeys in my house, and things like this I can't control, and like that example in the news, I believe there was a case of the lady who had a monkey who got lost in IKEA. Right? Some of you guys know this story, I don't know. Yeah, some of you probably heard. And the first question we asked, what was this going on there from the beginning? We don't want to know what happened to the monkey. Why was it in your house? Where you got lost in IKEA and this and this? And who knows what it could have done or what it could have happened to it. But the Sharia, obviously, these are all important points we mentioned, that if you follow Sharia, you always be in safety. Wallahu a'lam. Any other questions? Because we want to end, yes.
What was the hadith about the all black dog?
So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Hadith Abu Dharr, he said, الكلب الأسود شيطان. Hadith Muslim, the black dog is shaitan. Like, we have to have fahm sahih. Some people, when they hear this, they think it's literally a shaitan, which is one of the two interpretations. Okay, Ikhwan, we have to know there's a big problem when you go outside as Muslims. We know everyone knows Muslims don't like dogs. I think it's a well-known thing in the society. If they see us, we are on the other side of the street. So they think it's intrinsic. Some people have found that they think the Muslims, the Sharia says, hate the dog. And when they hear it, in Amr and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, qatl al-kilab, they say, you have to kill it. So some of them, they think we're dog haters. And one masjid, some years ago, some dog enthusiasts tried to protest this Islamic rulings that brought dogs to the masjid. So of course they didn't bring enough, no one was scared. But the idea is they want to confront Muslims because they think Muslims have a problem with dogs. The Hadith doesn't say that, because we have a dog which is hunting, right, in the Sharia, yeah. We have guard dogs, so we don't know what they intend by it, but maybe it's our culture too, that we don't like it, it's dirty, that's the key, najis. But coming to this hadith, someone say, well, how about this hadith? You discriminate against the black dog and the brown dog. Because Abu Dharr said, how about the brown dog and the red one? He said, no, only the black one. So they say it's the black one. So some of them, they understood Muslims hate dogs. What's the hadith mean? Kalbul aswad, or is the black dog bahim, yani purely black. And the idea behind it is two interpretations. One interpretation is that it's actually a shaitan itself, possibly. Because you mentioned for hadith Sahih ibn Hibban, jinn are thalat asnaf, three types. One of them is those who fly in the sky, group of jinn who travel on the earth, they just go all across the world. And one is which are snakes and are dogs. It's hadith Sahih. This hadith shows us that some of the dogs literally could be shayateen. But what's the second interpretation? So now we say could be, because it's not the case every black dog is literally a shaitan. Because that would mean then that every single one will have a guarantee. It can't be. The second meaning is what Ibn Qayyim holds in the I'lam Muqi'in, Ibn Uthaymin also. Shaitan here means rebellious. This is a very strong argument. Rebellious. Because shaitan, Allah called him shaitan because he's cast up from his Jannah and the rahmah of Allah, but also due to his tamarrud, his arrogance and rebellion. And this meaning, Ibn Qayyim says, I'lam Muqi'in, beautiful. That kitab, in I'lam Muqi'in, Ibn Qayyim has a chapter where he talks about the hikmah, the wisdom behind many ahkam. And if you read what he writes, it's gold. And when a Muslim comes to you, read Ibn Qayyim what he says. Beautiful. He says the black dog is rebellious, like all other black animals. Like the black horse, black stallion. Last time I checked, if you can tame black stallion, you're the man, right? Black stallions are rebellious. Gorillas, or any totally black animal, is rebellious by nature. When you see a black dog, how hard this dog is the owner holding the leash. It's rebellious by nature. That's what it means. And wallahi, this meaning is important for them to understand. We're not saying that a black dog is worse or less or more dirty than the brown one. Both are najis. What we're trying to say is that the hadith is pointing to a reality, and some ulama at a third point, which is the rabies at the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why we're saying this? So when you talk to somebody and they come to you and say, Muslim, you guys don't like dogs, right? Tell them, what are you talking about? And then you let them see what they think and then explain to them nicely. Because if you told them this, you tell them, do you have a black dog? I'm like, no. Most of the time, no, that one's not good. They know the black dog is very dangerous, very hard to deal with. And the ulama said the reason why the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said this is because if no one can tame it, you can't really control it for hunting, you can't keep it for benefit. So what is his benefit then? Not much, right? So the Rasul was commanded to be killed at one point, but he stopped the killing. It's very important. It's nasakh now. It's abrogated to kill the black dog anymore. Because the Rasul killed it at that time because Medina was full of black dogs, rabid everywhere. So the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after enough was killed to lower the harm, then he allowed them to exist. But he did say, if you do find it, and the key point is, it's not owned by anyone. For example, someone goes somewhere and just sees a black dog somewhere. Again, daf'u sa'il, he has to defend himself. But if we're talking about someone owns it, we're not talking about killing that. Some people, they say this, they say kill a black dog, they think about the neighbor's dog. Nothing the Sharia says killing the neighbor's dog. It's haram. It's owned. We're talking about the wild. And why? Because it's harm. If you explain this to somebody, they would be very amazed. That makes very much sense. And also, it explains to them what Islam teaches us. Islam is deen masarih mafasid. We don't want them to think that the black dog is hated for some reason, right? This is a good question because a lot of people, when these things come up, they never thought about it. But when you see how the ulama explained it, it's mashallah, very good. And it goes together. Right? Both interpretations are acceptable. Inshallah, due to the time, we'll end with this much. I apologize for the delay. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.